Hey everybody, I'm Alan with Bricks and Blocks Gaming, and in this battle video for the game of Frostgrave, I'll be playing the Walenton Manor scenario. This scenario is part of the Arcane Locations supplement, which can be found as part of the Frostgrave Folio book. Arcane Locations includes 3 unconnected scenarios and some new base resources, and you'll find a review of this supplement in the description box below once it's released. This is the 14th battle video I've released for my 2nd edition campaign, but you can easily jump in right here and watch this video independently from my other videos if you're just curious what this scenario has to offer. In this battle, my summoners Velius and Celia will be facing off against King Arthur and Sir Bedevere, the witches. The setup for this scenario is very unique, and that's kind of why I decided to give it a try. I'll be reading this scenario's flavor text. Then I'll show you how I've decided to set up my table. I'll explain the special rules for this scenario, deploy my warbands, and then start the battle. So now let's get to the bricks and blocks of the Walenton Manor scenario for Frostgrave. There is a story that has survived from the ancient days of Felstad about a general and his daughter and the great and confusing manor house that they built. Although no one knows exactly when he lived, it is remembered that Lord Walenton was one of the greatest military commanders in the history of the Empire. Over several decades of service, he led wars of conquest that added huge provinces and vast wealth. When his days of war were finally through, the grateful citizens of Felstad awarded him a tract of land in the heart of the city and enough money to build a palace. Work on the Walenton Manor soon began, but the old general did not live to see its completion. 2 years after the first ground was broken, he died in unusual circumstances. He was found in his bed, his body locked in twisted agony, and his face a frozen mask of fear. Lord Walenton's body, draped in cloth, was cremated in a public funeral. All of his wealth, including the incomplete manor house, passed to his only living relative, his daughter. The new Lady Walenton quickly gained a reputation as an odd recluse. She lived in the incomplete manor house and continued to pay for its construction, but often interfered with the work, requesting numerous changes and frustrating the architect's careful plans. Masons quit on a regular basis, calling the lady impossible to work for, but her wealth always ensured a ready stream of replacements. Soon, rumors began to spread about Lady Walenton. Apparently, she believed that her father had been murdered by the ghosts of his enemies, and that those same ghosts now haunted her. As time passed, she became increasingly convinced of the ghosts' murderous intentions, and further altered the manor's plans in hopes of confusing the spirits. She added shifting hallways, moving stairways, and doorways that led nowhere. The final fate of Lady Walenton is unknown, and no one today knows if the manor house was completed before the fall of Felstad. But the ruins of the manor still stand near the center of the city, and Lady Walenton was fantastically rich. The setup for this scenario is kind of unique. Normally it calls for 2 tables, both 3 foot by 3 foot, but I only have 1 card table, and my room is kind of small, and filming 2 tables back and forth would get a little disorienting probably to the viewer. So instead I've decided to just simply divide my table in half, with this gray side being the first floor of the manor, and then the white side being kind of the snowy upper floor. So the roof is kind of collapsed and the elements have come in there. If you've watched some of my other videos, you'll know that I use kind of a special brick-themed measuring system, which kind of changes the scale of my board to kind of actually shrink down my board size. But since I don't have as much surface area as the scenario intends, I will be using actual inches. So my board will be, basically both floors will be 40 inches by 20 inches, which is a bit small for what it calls for, but I think the scenario is already going to be kind of long with the 2 floors, so I think that that'll help to shorten up the overall length of the battle. During the battle, figures are allowed to leave any edge of the board on the first floor. However, they cannot leave on any of the edges of the upper floor. I'm saying that there's basically walls that kind of go all the way around and just the ceiling has collapsed. So to get out, they'll have to work their way back down to the bottom floor and then leave through one of the gray sides. In a 2-player game, a staircase is placed right in the middle of the first floor, and then each player places one staircase between 6 to 8 inches from the center of that table. And then on the second floor, a trapdoor is placed right in the middle to correspond with the central staircase on the first floor. And then the players each get to place an additional trapdoor. So we've got one here and then over there. And they don't necessarily need to be right above the other staircases. However, this staircase will always connect to this trapdoor, and that staircase will always connect to the other trapdoor. And at the end of each turn, starting with the player that lost the initiative roll, players get to move any one of the staircases or any one of the trapdoors 4 to 6 inches in any direction. And regardless of where they move to, each trapdoor will still connect with the corresponding staircase. I've now placed all of my treasure tokens. And now in the second edition, you normally place 5 total treasure tokens. But this scenario was released back in the days of the first edition. And the rules in the appendix of the second edition book say to place 5 treasures in all of the old scenarios unless it specifically states how many treasures to place. And this one does tell each player to place 3 treasure tokens. So that's what I've done. 1 token that each player places must be on the bottom floor. So there's one here and one here. And then the other treasure tokens are placed on the second floor. So we have one here, one back here by that ice outcropping. Then over here, there is one right back here, and there is one inside this ruined room over here. To shorten up this video a little bit, I've left off my rolls for out-of-game spells because all of the spellcasters failed all of their rolls. So we'll go ahead and look at deployments. Velius rolled to set up first, and he is right here next to a thug. His apprentice Celia. Here are his 2 infantrymen, his Cyclops Templar, another thug, their marksmen, and then 2 rangers. And I'll point out that Velius has a staff of +1 fight, and he is wearing a glove of casting, and Celia is also wearing a glove of casting. And over to the other side of the board, the Knights of the Round Table have set up here, with King Arthur himself right there. Next to him is his squire Patsy. The Black Beast of Arg is right here. Behind the king is brave Sir Robin with his minstrel, the bard. Over here we have Sir Bedevere next to Sir Galahad behind him. And Lancelot is next to him, and he has a 2-handed sword of fight +1. And behind him is Tim the Enchanter, and he is wearing a ring of teleportation. And the last time that the Knights of the Round Table hit the board, their Rabbit of Carbonog was badly wounded, so he has to sit out this battle. I've been playing a lot of Stargrave, and in that game, badly wounded characters just start the next battle at half health, but in Frostgrave they have to sit out based on the rules as written. To see which spells both of these wizards know, you can check the description box where I have those listed, and we'll go ahead and roll initiative for the first round, and that goes to Velius. Velius will start out over here by activating with this thug, and Velius is going to start out by moving 6 inches over to here, and then he is going to use Summon Demon, casting on a 6. Oh no, he gets a 1. So on a roll of a 1, that means a uncontrolled demon is going to show up in combat with Velius. We'll roll to see what that is, and it is a 6. So a result of 1 through 10 on that die is an imp. So this shadow imp will appear just as in combat. So I'm going to put it behind Velius so that his allies can get to him quicker. And I will point out that in the first edition, what popped up was determined by how badly you failed the spell. But in the second edition, you make an additional roll, so that pops up there. And then this thug that activated with Velius will move into combat, and he will attack with the support of his wizard that fell over. So this is a +4 against +1. and he gets a 22 to a 20, so the thug wins, and that is more than enough damage to take out the imp. Imps have 10 armor and 6 health, so it takes 12 damage and goes down, and I believe that they will gain experience points for that because it is an uncontrolled creature they defeated. To King Arthur's turn over here. He is going to actually group activate with the Black Beast of Arg. So the beast will move 6 inches this way. Then Arthur, now that the beast isn't in his way, will move 6 inches this way. And then he will use his second action first to cast Possess on the beast. He needs an 11 for this, which he gets. Then this possessed beast will move 3 inches for its second action, right up to there. To the apprentice phase, Celia over here will activate with this infantryman. She'll start by sending the infantryman double moving over here. 9 inches can get him right over next to Velius. Then she is going to move right up here and use her second action to attempt to summon Demon. And she is going to activate her Glove of Casting. So +5 to this. Celia gets a total of 12. That's successful. She needed an 8, and that bumps up to the minimum of 14. Succeeding by 6 gives her a minor Shadow Warrior. She was really hoping to get a higher roll on that so she could empower up to get a major Shadow Warrior, but that will do for now. Over to Sir Bedevere. He will group activate with Sir Lancelot, and they will both move. After untangling themselves from that web, they will single move to right here, and Sir Bedevere will attempt to possess on Sir Lancelot, needing a 13, well 11 with a -2. So that's a 6. He failed by 5. He is just going to let that fail, taking 1 point of damage. And then for Sir Lancelot's second action, he is going to move 3 inches right up here, which puts him by another web. Over to Velius's mob of soldiers back here. All of these soldiers are just going to double move this way. And so that puts their 2 rangers up here on this staircase. I'm saying they have to get to the very top before they can be transported up to the second floor. Their thug is right here in front of this wall. They've got their infantryman over there, their marksman here, and behind him is their Cyclops Templar. For the Knights of the Round Table, they'll have Tim the Enchanter and Sir Galahad. They will both end up double moving this direction. On 10.5 inches, Tim's able to get there, and Sir Galahad can get right in front of Sir Bedevere. And then these 3 will all double move this direction. So brave Sir Robin has moved right up here behind the Black Beast of Arg. His minstrel's back here cheering him on. And then Patsy the Thief is staying close to his king. And at the end of the turn, starting with the player that lost the initiative roll, they can move either one staircase or trapdoor. And so King Arthur's team is going to move the central staircase 6 inches this way. I'm making all my measurements from the top of the stairs. These can travel through terrain as long as they stop where they're not buried in terrain. And you're also allowed to spin them. So 6 inches can move this to right over here, and they'll have the staircase just go right there. And then Velius is going to move this staircase 6 inches this way through this wall, and it will end up right there. Initiative for the next round goes to King Arthur this time. So King Arthur will start out by activating by himself. He'll run over here, and then he is going to attempt Raise Zombie to bring his Black Knight onto the board. He needs a 12 for this, which he gets. So the immortal Black Knight shows up right in front of him. Over here to Velius's turn. I just realized I never had this Shadow Warrior move last turn. Even though he was just summoned last turn, he could have still activated. But oh well. Velius is going to activate with this infantryman and both of these rangers. This ranger here will start out by moving 2 inches to the top of here. and then that will make him pop out right here. And then from there, he still has, on a double move, 8.5 more inches, so he will wind around here, and he'll end his turn right there near that treasure. Then this other ranger will also climb up, and then he will pop up over here. That was 4 inches to climb the stairs, and then he can move another 6.5 inches around over to here as he starts heading toward that treasure. Then both Velius and this infantryman will end up climbing the stairs. Technically, the infantryman is climbing first, and then when they pop up over here, the infantryman can get another 3.5 inches to right here, and Velius will show up kind of behind him a little bit. And from right there, Velius will use his Gloves of Casting and attempt Summon Demon. So with his +5, he gets another 1. Well, that is really bad. His Gloves of Casting go to waste, and this thing shows up. We'll put it right there so it's in combat with both him and the infantryman. So one interesting thing pops up here when using Gloves of Casting with this spell. Normally a 1 cannot be empowered with this spell, but Gloves of Casting don't technically empower the spell. They just add +5 to the roll. So a natural 1 was rolled to bring about the uncontrolled demon, but the failed result is still technically a 6, not a 1. So although it was failed, it wasn't failed by 5 or more, so I don't think Velius should take damage. I might be kind of rules lawyering, but that's what I'm going to go with. Moving to the apprentice phase, Sir Bedevere is going to attempt Possess again on Sir Lancelot. On an 11 with a -2, and that is a result of a 7, so failed by 4 this time. He'll go ahead and empower that. For Celia's activation, she is going to just activate with both the Thug and the Shadow Warrior. The Thug's going to head up the stairs first, followed by the Shadow Warrior, and then Celia. So on double moves, all 3 of them show up here: Celia, the Thug, and the Shadow Warrior. And Celia's not going to be able to cast a spell because she double moved. For King Arthur's turn, they'll start by sending the Black Beast of Arg up this staircase, and it will pop up right here in the middle, and it will double move into combat with this infantryman. Next, brave Sir Robin is going to run up these stairs, and when he pops up in the middle, he is going to bravely run this way a few more inches to finish out his double move. Then following close behind, his minstrel will run up here, and he can just get to the top, so he will pop up right here on the trapdoor. Next, Patsy here will come around here and come right to the bottom of the staircase. Then the Black Knight is going to come over here. He can just get to this treasure token in 1 move, and then he will pick it up with his second action. We'll see if a monster appears on a 10+, and it does. A level 1 monster, and that monster will be a 2. The scenario rules don't say, but I'm going to have any treasures that were picked up here. Monsters that appear will appear on this table, and then same thing up there. So we'll do 1 through 5, 6 through 10, 11 through 15, and then 16 through 20. And it's going to show up right over there. Then over to here. I just realized I forgot to have Sir Bedevere move after he casts his spell. So I guess that makes it even. Both teams have neglected a movement. And they're going to have Tim the Enchanter run up this staircase. And this one pops up right over here. He's got 2.5 inches left, so he will move to right there. Then Sir Galahad is going to run 9 inches over to here on a double move. And Lancelot is going to run up these stairs to try to join into some of this action. He's got 1 inch left, so he'll move just right off of this trapdoor. And to Velius' soldiers, they'll start by having their Thug run over to this treasure token around the corner here. And he will pick that up. The monster appears on a 10+, and it does. So I rolled off camera that more skeletons appeared, 3 armored skeletons this time, and they do activate as a group, so they could be potentially pretty dangerous. Next, they'll have this infantryman double move up here by this crate to try to draw out those skeletons. And then their marksman is going to run up here. And from there, he is going to fire his crossbow at the Black Knight over here. He moved, and there is one piece of intervening terrain between him and the Black Knight. So that makes this a +2 shoot against +3 defense, and the crossbow bolt misses. So his crossbow is now unloaded, and then this Cyclops Templar will run between these two to right there on his double move. To the creature phase, we will start over here, where this uncontrolled Shadow Imp is in combat over here. The infantryman has fewer health than Velius, so he will attack the infantryman. The Black Beast would add support, but so would Velius, so that cancels out. So it's just a straight +1 against +3. And that is a 22 +2 damage. Against 10 armor and 6 health, another imp is taken out of the game. Next, I'll go to these armored skeletons. I rolled randomly to see which direction they would run, and they've gone this way, so they'll come 6 inches this way, at which point they'll see Galahad, then move 3 more inches this way. So that puts the mob right here. Then over here, I rolled randomly to determine which of these would activate first, and this one is activating first, so he'll run over here and get into combat with this infantryman. Skeleton's a +0 against +3 for the infantryman. That is a 13 with +2 damage. Against 10 armor and 1 health, that skeleton crumbles into a pile of bones, and then this one will kind of shamble over there on a double move and get into combat. At the end of the turn, Velius gets to move one of these stairs or trapdoors first since he lost the initiative. He will move this 6 inches over here, and then he is going to rotate it right like that. And then the Knights of the Round Table will choose to move this staircase 6 inches over to here. And I'll roll initiative for the next round, and that goes to the Knights of the Round Table again. King Arthur over here will start out by moving 6 inches this way, down towards the bottom of this staircase. And then from there, he is going to toss a grenade right over here between the Templar, the Marksman, and that Thug. Casting on a 10, which he gets. He moved, and there is one piece of intervening terrain, so we'll go Templar, Marksman, Thug. So the Templar is bumped up to a +6 against +3, and he misses that, so that is a 17 against 12 armor. He takes 5 points of damage. The Marksman's bumped up to a +4 against +3, and that also hits him. An 18 against 12 armor is 6 damage. And the Thug is also bumped up to a +4 against +3, and he defends that. Over to Velius here. He is going to group activate with this Thug and with this Shadow Warrior. He'll start by having the Shadow Warrior move out here into combat with the Beast, and then the Thug will move out here to engage the Beast as well. And then Velius will choose not to move, and then he is going to attempt once again to use Summon Demon. Let's see what happens this time. He only needs a 6. 19, so he succeeds by 13. And actually he needed an 8 to succeed, so he will empower by 2 to succeed by 13 and get a greater Shadow Warrior that will appear right in front of him here. And now for second actions over here. This Shadow Warrior here is going to attack with double support. That makes him a +7 against +6 with the Possessed Beast. And he wins with a 22, and the Beast currently has an armor of 13, so that is 9 points of damage to the Black Beast of Arg. The Shadow Warrior is staying in combat. Now the Thug will attack. He's a +6 against +6, and he gets a 24 against 13 armor. That is 11 points of damage, which is enough to take down this Possessed Beast. So that will really be turning the tides for the summoners up here on the top floor of this manor. To the apprentice phase, Sir Bedevere over here kind of wants to use his scroll of fog to go over here to distract these skeletons, but he can't really pass up the grenade into 3 enemies, 2 of which are already have already taken some damage. So he is going to run over here 6 inches, and then he will cast grenade down there. On a 10 with a -2, that is successful. Sir Bedevere moved, but there is no intervening terrain this time, so again we'll do Templar, Marksman, Thug. So +3 against +5 for the Templar. That is a 14 to a 14, so that misses on a shooting attack. Now against the Marksman, he is a +3 against +3. That hits him with a 19 against 12 armor. He takes 7 more points of damage. He was down to 6 health, so he goes down, and then the Thug is a +3 against +3 as well, and the Thug defends that. So from 2 grenades, they took out this Marksman and brought this Templar down to half health, and that Thug is still free to escape with that treasure. Celia will now activate with this new Major Shadow Warrior that appeared, and she'll start by having this guy run right over here, over the body of the Black Beast of Arg, and eventually he got right in there, and he is going to attack that poor minstrel. Major demons have a +5 fight against a bard's +2, and that is an 18 with the strong trait for +2 damage. Bards have 11 armor and 12 health, so that puts him down to 3 health, and he is wounded. Then Celia is going to run around the side of this building over here 6 inches, and then she is going to attempt leap on this Thug, casting on an 8 with a -2, and she succeeds with that. And she is just going to launch him up over here into contact with that treasure token in there. For the soldier phase, this Black Knight is going to move his treasure token just 3 inches this way on a double move, and then Sir Galahad is going to run over here and engage just this front armored skeleton. Now with pack hunters, they activate together, but I don't believe that they would all can be considered in combat if you're in combat with just one of them. And he's staying more than an inch away from the other 2 so they can't snap into combat, and then he will do a one-on-one attack there. So Galahad's a +3 against +1, and he gets a critical hit, which is more than enough to take down the skeleton with 1 health. Next, Patsy here is going to hop off the stairs and move into combat with this infantryman, and then he will attack with the support of that skeleton. So Patsy's a +4 with support against +3 for the infantryman, but the infantryman wins with a 20 and +2 damage. Patsy is a thief, so that is 12 points of damage against him, and he goes down. Up top here, Sir Robin is going to run over and pick up this treasure here. We'll see if a monster appears. On a 10+, nope. Then Tim the Enchanter / Tracker over here is going to run over here. You can just barely get into contact with that treasure, and he'll pick that one up, with a monster appearing on a 10+, and no monster again. Then they'll have Sir Lancelot run over here and get into combat with this Greater Shadow Warrior and attack with support. With support and being possessed, he's a +8 against +5. And he gets a critical miss, which doesn't really do anything, but the +5 over here is a total of 17 with +2 damage against 10 armor. And I forgot that Lancelot does have a sword of +1 fight, but that doesn't really matter here. And with possess, he actually has 11 armor, so he takes 8 points of damage, putting him down to 6. And moving to the Summoner's Soldier phase, this Ranger here can't quite get into combat with all that's going on here, so instead he is going to run over this way 10.5 inches, so that he's got a straight line of sight over here to Tim the Enchanter. And then this infantryman here is going to climb over the fallen beast right over here into combat with Brave Sir Robin's Minstrel and attack. No support is given there. The wounded minstrel has a +0 against +3. And that goes to the minstrel with a 17 against 11 armor. That is 6 points of damage. That will wound him, and the minstrel will push him out of combat. For the last soldier that's at the top side of this board, this ranger over here is going to walk over here and pick up this treasure token. Checking for monsters, and something appears. And I rolled off camera that a dreaded white gorilla is going to show up right on this edge of the board next to this ranger over here. To the lower floor of this battlefield, this thug carrying the treasure can move 4.5 inches this way. So he'll move to right there, trying to stay behind this wall to protect him from maybe some grenade throws, and to stay closer away from these guys. Next, this Templar is going to run over here into combat with the skeleton. He'll go right there and attack with support. So he's a +6 against +1. And the skeleton wins with a 16 against 11 armor, dealing 5 more points of damage to that Templar. I guess that's 4 damage to the Templar, putting him down to 3 and wounded. And then the infantryman will attack with support. This is a +5 against +1. And he takes down the skeleton with that. With 10 armor, that skeleton takes 7 points of damage and crumbles into a pile of bones. And then this infantryman will move over here on his 6-inch move. For the uncontrolled creatures, we'll start out with having this white gorilla move into combat with this unsuspecting ranger and attack. That's a +4 against just +2 for the ranger. But the ranger wins with a 21. That deals 7 points of damage against the 12 armored gorilla, and then the ranger will push himself an inch out of combat. At the front of the battlefield here, these 2 remaining armored skeletons will move into combat with Sir Galahad, and we'll have the one with the spear here attack first. And I've just realized that armored skeletons have +2 fight, so with support he's a +4 against +3 for Sir Galahad, and it wins with a 15 against 12 armor, dealing 3 points of damage. And the other skeleton attacks, and that one is with a 20 against 12 armor. That is 8 points of damage. And that leaves Sir Galahad wounded with just 1 health point remaining. At the end of the turn, Velius' team can start out by moving one of the trapdoors or staircases. And they're going to move this trapdoor over here, 6 inches this way underneath that infantryman. And then King Arthur's team is going to move this trapdoor 6 inches this way underneath Sir Robin. And with those movements, Tim over here is kind of cut off from being able to escape, but brave Sir Robin will be able to bravely run away here with that loot shortly. Initiative for the next round goes to King Arthur. King Arthur will start things out by lobbing a grenade at that Cyclops Templar, casting on a 10, and he gets that. This is a +3 against +4. There's no intervening terrain here. And the Templar dodges with a 18. And since King Arthur really wants to try to get some of these treasures off the board, he's going to run up these stairs, and that will put him right here in contact with this infantryman in combat there, and that will get them some bonus experience for having one of their spellcasters reach the top floor. Next, Velius will activate by himself, and he is going to run out here by the fallen beast of Arg. And from the right there, he is going to attempt to heal on the wounded infantryman. He needs a 12, a failure by 6. He'll just let that fail, taking 1 point of damage. To the apprentice phase, Sir Bedevere is going to attempt what King Arthur failed at, and he is going to lob a Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch at that Templar. He needs a 10 with a -2 and gets that just barely. That's a +3 against +4 defense, and that is a 13 to 13, so failure on a shooting attack. And after another Holy Hand Grenade of Antioch does nothing, he's going to hop over this turnover table and move to right there, hoping to maybe be a distraction so that Sir Robin can come down these stairs. And then we'll go up here to Celia's turn, and she is going to activate with this thug. She'll start by having the thug pick up this treasure, and then he is going to walk with it over in front of her. A massive 3 inches, and we'll see if a monster shows up. On a 10 plus, and something shows up. So I rolled off camera that a bear would appear right down here. And based on how Velius has been rolling, I'm wondering if that's the bear that he tried to summon as an animal companion, and it's over there turning against them. And then after that, Celia is going to attempt to leap on this thug to get him over here by this trapdoor. On an 8 with a -2, that's a 0. She will let that fail. To the soldier phase for the Knights of the Round Table. This Black Knight is going to continue his slow movement over here. He can't quite get off the board, so he will be right there with his treasure. And then to brave Sir Robin's turn. Since he is standing on this trapdoor, he will just move right through it. Over to this staircase is what it's connected to. And he is going to move, do his first move, which is 3.5 inches, down the side of this staircase. And then 1 inch and 3/4 of an inch to right there. Up on the top floor, Sir Lancelot the Brave is going to attack the Major Shadow Warrior with support. The Barbarian there is a +7 against +5. And that he just barely wins, 21 to 20 with +2 damage. Against 12 armor, that deals 11 points of damage to the Shadow Warrior, putting him down to 4 health and wounding him. Then Lancelot will push himself out of combat, then run over here to get into combat with this infantryman and support his king. Then Tim the Enchanter will head this way with his treasure, 5 1/4 of an inch to right there. Their minstrel will choose to do nothing with his activation, as will the wounded Sir Galahad. To Velius' soldier phase, this Templar could double move into combat with brave Sir Robin to try to stop him from retreating with that treasure, but Velius' team is here more for causing damage to their opponents, so he is going to double move into combat with Sir Bedevere. And then they'll have this infantryman move over and attack with support. So the infantryman is a +5 and Bedevere is a +3. And the infantryman wins with a 17 with +2 damage. So that deals 9 damage, and Bedevere had 9 health remaining. So the apprentice goes down. Next, they'll have this thug here run off the board with this treasure token, securing the first treasure of the game. Then this ranger up here, who is also carrying treasure, wants to get away from this bear, so he's going to run around this corner 5 1/4 inches. So that'll put him right down there. Then their greater shadow warrior will attack the bard. With both of these figures wounded, that's a +3 against +0. And the greater shadow warrior wins with a 20 and +2 damage. So the wounded bard didn't really stand a chance there. And then the shadow warrior will move into combat with Lancelot. And then this shadow warrior will run over to Lancelot as well, and he will attack. This infantryman can't add support because he is engaged here, but he does have one friend supporting him. Lancelot is a +7 against +5 for the shadow warrior, and Lancelot wins with a 16 against 15. With +2 damage against 11 armor, that deals 7 damage, and Lancelot will push him out of combat. This infantryman here will choose to do nothing for his activation. Then their ranger back here is going to run over to here on his first move, and then he will fire an arrow at Tim the Enchanter. With a hasty shot, that makes this a +2 against +2, and the Enchanter defends that. To the uncontrolled creature phase, I rolled that this bear would randomly move 6 inches this way, and from here he can see Celia's red cape, so he'll move 3 inches that direction. Then to this white gorilla back here, he can see through this building here and see this shadow warrior. So he'll move through that doorway, and then he does have to double move to get into combat with that shadow warrior. And then up here we'll have the spear-wielding skeleton start by attacking Sir Galahad. It's a +4 against the +1 wounded Galahad. That is a 19. That takes down Sir Galahad. So with that knight falling, these skeletons cannot see any other figures on the table from where they are. So they will move randomly, and I rolled for them to move this way, kind of into these wheels here. And then at the end of the turn, Velius is going to choose to move this staircase right over here in front of Sir Robin to kind of block his path. And then up here, King Arthur's team is going to choose to move this trapdoor through here, right over here next to Tim. Initiative for the next round goes again to King Arthur. So King Arthur over here will start out by activating with Sir Lancelot, and Lancelot is going to attack that infantryman right there. No support is given in this battle because it's a 2-on-2. Lancelot is a +7 against +1 for the infantryman. It says 18 to 18, so they both win. And both of those two soldiers deal +2 damage, and they both have 11 armor, so they both take 9 damage. The infantryman was down to 4, and the barbarian, Lancelot, was down to 6. Losing Lancelot was not quite what King Arthur was hoping for there, but now he will activate, and he will toss a grenade right over here between this treasure-carrying thug and Celia, and there is one piece of intervening terrain with that combat there. Needing a 10, he will empower for 1. Against the thug, thugs do not get the fight penalty for carrying treasure, so he's a +2 against +3 shoot, and that hits him with a 17. He takes 7 points of damage and is wounded. Against Celia, she's also a +2 against +3, and that is a critical hit with a total of 18 damage against 10 armor. She goes down. And that means both teams are now without their apprentice, and then King Arthur is just going to turn around and get into combat with this ranger to keep him from shooting at Tim. And then Velius will attempt to leap the Greater Shadow Warrior into combat with Tim. Needing an 8, a failure by 4, he will empower for 4. So with that, the Shadow Warrior gets leapt over here, and will then be stopping Tim from escaping. To the soldier phase, the Knights of the Round Table will have the Black Knight run off the board here, securing a treasure, possibly the Holy Grail. And then right behind this staircase, Sir Robin is going to have to make a detour now around this, and he can get right over here, 5 1/4 inches on his double move. And their last standing soldier is Tim the Enchanter. He is going to go ahead and attack because he needs to try to get off the board with that treasure. Trackers have a +1 fight, and the wounded Shadow Warrior has a +3. And the Shadow Warrior wins with a 14 and +2 damage. Trackers have light armor and a staff, so that's essentially 12 armor. Means he takes 4 points of damage. To the Summoner's Soldier phase, their wounded Cyclops Templar can move 5 inches over to here on a single move. And then their Infantryman can double move 9 inches right up next to this pile of bones. So he can't quite get to brave Sir Robin, so they're hoping they'll win the initiative next round to stop him from escaping with that treasure. And then to their soldiers on the top floor, this ranger over here will double move onto this staircase, and then he can get just a little bit further down these stairs on a total of 5¼ inches. I'll just put his treasure up here so it'll stay put. And their thug that's also carrying treasure, who is now wounded, can move just 3 inches kind of around this corner here to right there. They're going to have this Shadow Warrior here not attack, just kind of keep that gorilla busy. And same thing here with this Ranger, keeping Arthur busy. And the Greater Shadow Warrior can't go because he was leapt. And going to the creature phase, we'll go ahead and have this White Gorilla attack the Shadow Warrior. The Gorilla is a +4 against +3 for the Shadow Warrior. And that is a 6 to a 5, so no damage is done. And then these armored skeletons up here can see this infantryman, so they will both run over here, double moving 9 inches. So they'll move up to right there, and then I should have moved the bear first, but he randomly rolled to move this way 6 inches, and cannot see anybody from that corner. And for moving trapdoors or staircases, Velius is going to choose to move this trapdoor right underneath him. So Velius and that thug now have a good escape route. And then for King Arthur's movement, he'd kind of like to move a staircase here to block these guys from advancing, but after doing some measuring, no matter what, even by moving things, the infantryman would be able to move around it on a double move and still get into combat. So instead, this is the central staircase. They're going to move that 6 inches right over to here, so that they can maybe use this trapdoor there to get Tim off the board at some point. Initiative for the next round goes to King Arthur once again. With nothing else to do because he's locked up in combat, he will attack the Ranger. So he is a +5 against the Ranger's +2, and he lands a critical hit. So the critical damage combined with the bonus from a two-handed weapon means that deals 21 points of damage to the 11 armored ranger. He goes down, and then Arthur is going to run over here to add support against this major shadow warrior here. Then to Velius' turn, he is going to activate with this thug, and he's going to start out by casting Leap on this shadow warrior. Casting on an 8, and he'll empower for 1. So that'll leap this minor shadow warrior out of combat and 10 inches over to here, where he can jump into combat with King Arthur. And then Velius will head down the trap door. So he'll pop up at the top of these stairs, he'll climb down the side of it and end up right down here. Then the thug is going to follow behind. So the thug will pop up right here, and then he's just going to drop down next to Velius. So he's able to climb down enough before he drops so that he doesn't take damage. And now to the soldier phase. Brave Sir Robin is going to run off the board with this treasure token. And then back here, Tim is going to once again attack the shadow warrior. No support is given because this is a 2-on-2. So Tim is a +1 against +3. And a critical hit for the shadow warrior. 16 damage takes down Tim. And then the greater shadow warrior will activate for Velius' turn and attack King Arthur. With the shadow warrior wounded but with support, it's a +5 against +5. And another critical hit is landed. So another figure falls to a critical hit, but King Arthur is stuck in combat with that other shadow warrior. And then up front here, this infantryman is going to run over here and climb partway up these stairs. Then this Templar is going to run over here to attract these skeletons into him and not after the infantryman. And then the ranger up here is going to run down these stairs. And he can get right there on a 5¼ inch double move. For the uncontrolled creatures, this bear rolled to move right over here. And then this white gorilla can't quite see what's going on in here now that the Greater Shadow Warrior has fallen. So he rolled to randomly move right up over here. So he'll hang out there. And then these two armored skeletons will both run into combat with the Cyclops. We'll have the one with the sword attack first. It's a +4 with support against +2 for the wounded Templar. And the skeleton wins with a 22. So the Templar falls in combat. And then at the end of the round, for moving staircases and trapdoors, Velius is going to move this staircase and then rotate it. So it goes right there. And then King Arthur is going to move this trapdoor over onto the other side of this wall. So now that's out there where the white gorilla can see it, and we'll go ahead and roll up some initiative. Can Velius finally win it? And he does. Velius will activate with the wounded thug, and he is going to run over here 6 inches. And since the summoned Shadow Warrior that he brought on the board has fallen, he's going to attempt to summon something else. Needing an 8 and preferably not a 1. 14, that is successful, giving him a minor Shadow Warrior. So that thing pops up right in front of Velius. And then the thug is going to move a whopping 3 inches right over to here with his treasure token. To King Arthur's turn, he is going to attack this Shadow Warrior he's in combat with. So he's a +5 against +3. And that is a 21 to 21, so they both deal damage. With Arthur's two-handed sword, that deals 12 points of damage to the Shadow Warrior. And Arthur ends up taking 11 points of damage, putting him down to 4, and he is wounded. He does still get one more action, though, because he started with 2 actions, and he will just move over into contact with this treasure token. Then to the soldier phase, this ranger will leave the board with this treasure, and then both the infantryman here and the Shadow Warrior will run up these stairs. And then coming out of this central trapdoor, the infantryman went first to run over here, and then the Shadow Warrior over there, making sure to spread out so they don't get hit with a grenade. For the creature phase, this bear rolled to move 6 inches this way. The white gorilla back here will randomly be moving this way 6 inches. And then for the skeletons up front, they ended up moving this way, at which point they could see this thug, so they'll move 3 inches this way. So those skeletons are moved to right there. And then for stairs and trapdoors, King Arthur selects first, and he's going to move this 6 inches this way and then rotate it so that Velius will actually end up in combat with those skeletons there. So that could be bad news for him. And then Velius is going to choose to move the connected trapdoor back into this area over here. Initiative for the next round, and this time it goes again to Arthur. So to start things out, King Arthur down here is going to cast a grenade right here by this infantryman. So needing a 10 with a -2 because he's wounded. And that's an 11, so he is successful. This will be a +3 against +3, and that is a 19, dealing 8 points of damage to the infantryman. And he'll just stand there and protect that treasure until he dies or takes out those last 2 soldiers. To Velius' turn, he has no choice but to attack, so he will attack the skeleton with a spear. With his staff of +1 fight, he's a +5 against +4 with support. And that is a 13 to a 10 against 10 armor. And actually they have 12 armor, so with that staff dealing -1 damage, the skeleton blocks that. Then to the soldier phase, Arthur has no soldiers left, so this thug is going to run closer to the edge. And then down here, the now wounded infantryman will run into combat with Arthur. He can just barely get to him on a single move. And then the Shadow Warrior is going to run in and attack with support. Since Arthur is now wounded, he's a +3 against +5 with support. And that is a 22, dealing 12 points of damage, and King Arthur goes down. That ends the game with one unclaimed treasure token that I'll roll for. Velius needs to roll a 15 plus to acquire that token, and he gets it. And they'll also acquire this treasure that the thug is carrying, and that happened kind of just in the nick of time as Velius was about to get pummeled by 2 armored skeletons. After some horrible summoning spells at the start of the battle, Velius' team managed to kind of pull things off here, and the summoning spells they did cast brought them some allies that really helped turn the tide of the battle. They were able to recover 4 treasures in the battle, but that did cost them 5 soldiers, so we'll go ahead and do some survival rolls for the infantryman. He is badly wounded. The marksman is fine. The ranger is badly wounded. The Templar is also badly wounded, and Celia is just fine. For experience points, the summoners gain 40 for participating in the battle, 70 for successfully cast spells, 15 for spells they failed that caused them damage. They gain 20 for defeating 4 uncontrolled enemies. 2 of those were the imps that Velius accidentally summoned. And they gain 160 for those 4 treasures they found. And there's 25 bonus experience points if one of these spellcasters manages to get up there to that second floor. I don't believe that it is combined if both spellcasters get up there, but altogether they got 330 experience points, which is reduced down to 300, plus 200 that they already had, and they went ahead and passed 2 levels, bringing Velius up to 13. They're going to bank 300 experience points. They increased their health by 1, and they lowered the casting number of heal down to 11. They just don't really have any grimoires right now that they're really that interested in learning from, so that's why they banked all that experience. There were no central treasure tokens in this battle, so we'll roll 4 regular treasures. The 1 is just simply 50 gold crowns. The 11 and 12 both give them a magical item. 12 also gives them 20 gold crowns, and their magical items are... So this is a Ring of Power with 1 charge, and this is a Staff of Power with 1 charge. And this is a Grimoire plus 80 gold crowns. We'll roll to see what that is. This is a cross, and this will be down. 2 across and 10 down is a Grimoire of Shield, which they might end up learning. It is one of their aligned spells, but they have no other buffing spells, so that could be useful. So the 150 gold crowns that Velius found, plus what they already had saved up, gave them 395 to work with. They went ahead and spent 115 to essentially fire and rehire their wounded ranger, and 115 to do the same thing with their Templar. That's discounted by 10 because of their carrier pigeons. They went ahead and just let this injured infantryman go and replaced him for free with a thug. And then they gave that Ring of Power with 1 charge to Velius. And I guess that was actually a Wand of Power, not a Staff of Power, that they gave to Celia. So they've both got a lot of ways to empower stuff with those and their gloves of casting. So Velius and Celia keep getting stronger with more magical items and leveling up, while the rest of their team kind of got weaker with losing one of their infantrymen. They still weren't able to get any bears in their warband, and they have less gold crowns than they started with, but I think those magical items they got kind of balanced things out. And meanwhile, the Knights of the Round Table were pretty much decimated with just thematically brave Sir Robin bravely running away with some loot. The Black Knight also made it off the board, but he's not a permanent member of the warband. And everybody else here got taken out, so we'll start making a bunch of survival rolls, starting with Patsy. He is fine. The Minstrel, he is badly wounded. Sir Galahad, he is fine. Tim the Enchanter, he is badly wounded. Sir Lancelot, carrying their two-handed sword of +1 fight, he is badly wounded. We'll go with the Black Beast of Arg. He is fine. Now, what is really important here, Sir Bedevere, he gets a 7. I'll look that up in a minute. And King Arthur, he also gets a 7. So a 7 is a close call, which means the figure loses any magical equipment they have with them. King Arthur, being the wizard, is allowed to increase his roll by +1, but he doesn't have any magical equipment, so that doesn't really affect him either way. And Sir Bedevere has that scroll of fog that he almost used in the battle, but didn't use it, and he is going to lose that. And then these 3 soldiers over here are all going to need to be replaced, most likely. For after-game spells, King Arthur will attempt a Write Scroll spell, which he gets. He is going to write a scroll of Strike Dead, and Bedevere with a -2, and he failed that. For experience points, they gain 40 for participating, 90 for 9 successfully cast spells, 5 for 1 spell that failed that caused damage, 5 for taking down one of those armored skeletons, 80 for recovering those 2 treasure tokens, and 25 because King Arthur made it up to the 2nd floor, for a total of 245 experience, combined with the 50 they already had, gave them 290, and they used that to increase their level 2 levels up to 14. They increased their health to 17 and 15, and they lowered the casting number of Possess from 11 down to 10. For their 2 treasures, they get 20 gold crowns and a magical item, which is another ring of teleportation, and then this is 20 gold crowns and a grimoire. This will be a cross, and this will be down. And that is a grimoire of mind control. So with the gold crowns they found, combined with what they already had, that gave them 530 to work with. They spent 90 with the reduced fee of African swallows, or carrier pigeons, to fire and rehire Tim, and 115 to fire and rehire Sir Lancelot the Brave. And they decided to just leave their minstrel badly wounded, so he'll have to sit out their next battle. Their Rabbit of Carbonog will be returning for the next battle after sitting out wounded this battle. And they gave their Ring of Teleportation to Brave Sir Robin so that he can more easily, bravely run away. This team really didn't do well that battle, but they ended up with an extra Ring of Teleportation, a couple levels, and a little less gold crowns than what they started with. And considering the fact they had almost an entire party kill here, I'd say things turned out pretty well for them given the potential that could have happened there. If you're enjoying this content, feel free to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss anything. I'm Alan with Bricks and Blocks Gaming. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.